Hey, what's up, gentlemen and ladies? Happy Independence Day to Swaziland. I was just hanging up some missing posters for this dude, Hajime Tabata. Some of you might know him as the director of Final Fantasy 15. He quit the company like about a year ago, and I think he was going to start his own company or something, but I haven't really heard from him since, so if any of you guys know anything about his whereabouts, then be sure to call me.
Alright, so a few days ago, it was revealed that the Square Enix internal team of Luminous Productions, partially responsible for Final Fantasy 15, was finally getting ready to announce their new game and their new IP that they've only been talking about for what must be like 2 years at this point. By the way, if my voice sounds really shitty, it's because I've been sick for like the past week or so, but what are you gonna do? Anyways, for the uninformed, back in 2013, Square Enix split itself into about a dozen or so separate teams, all named Business Division 1, 2, etc. And Business Division 2 was the one that was put in charge of Final Fantasy 15. This was the team responsible for games like Final Fantasy Type 0 and Crisis Core, and the director of those two, Hajime Tabata, was put as lead of that division. Now, after Final Fantasy 15 came out, Tabata made his own team within the company that they decided to call Luminous Productions, a team that had absolutely nothing to do with the Luminous Studio, the engine that FF15 used, that ended up being a huge disaster, costing the company millions of dollars, and it was used for a whopping one game before they abandoned it in favor of the third-party engine Unreal 4 for their next two biggest titles of Kingdom Hearts 3 and the Final Fantasy 7 remake. But that is a different story for a different time. The point here is that the Luminous Productions team was set to be working on a AAA non-Final Fantasy title for a while, but it kept constantly getting sidetracked because of the Final Fantasy 15 DLC episodes. You know, episode Gladiolus, episode Prompto, episode Ignis, the multiplayer expansion Comrades, etc. And this train really had no sign of stopping anytime soon. Final Fantasy 15 was coming up on its 2-year anniversary since its release, and they still had an entire second season of DLC planned for it, including episode Noctis with an alternate ending, episode Luna, episode Aranea, and episode Arden. However, then Halloween of 2018 came around, and things just kinda took a turn for the worse. Not only was it announced during an active time report that only one of those episodes would actually ever see the light of day, that being episode Arden, but it was also confirmed that the director of the game, Hajime Tabata, had left the company and would no longer be in charge of Business Division 2, Luminous Productions, or really anything. Now, the reason why Tabata left to begin with is a very complex, multi-layered question that can go all the way back to when he first started being involved with major titles in the company, but I've already talked about that in previous videos, so if you want to go check those out, I'm not going to repeat myself here. The point here is that he ended up leaving, and a few weeks later he announced through a Facebook post of all things that he would be starting his own company called JP Games, and that they would be trying to go for a January 2019 launch. And let's just say that January 2019 rolled around and we didn't really hear anything from him at all. To be honest, most people kind of forgot, not just about Tabata, but FF15 as a whole. I mean, sure, we still had episode Arden releasing in the spring, but most people just kind of had already moved on. Kingdom Hearts 3 had come out, Square Enix was shifting gears, starting to focus more on the FF7 remake, and FF15 was kind of left in the dust. FF15's legacy was pretty much forgotten, and with it also went the reputation of its director, Hajime Tabata. Sure, hardcore fans of Final Fantasy still recognize his name. I'm sure most of you watching this video do, but for the most part, people moved on to different games, and with him not delivering on his promise for a January 2019 launch, there was even less of a reason to keep up with him now. Now, the months went by, and eventually Tabata did actually end up announcing his new game and fully launching the company, but much like with FF15 itself, it had been delayed, in this case from January all the way to April. And judging by the fact that I can guarantee most of you didn't even hear about this at all, I think it's pretty safe to say that this announcement flew under most people's radars. The game itself is what a lot of people were fearing it would be, a mobile title. So far, the only system that this game has been confirmed for is mobile, which is such a shame. Look, I get that in Japan, mobile phone gaming is huge and that literally everyone over there plays gacha, but while those games still have a small audience in the West, I think it's pretty safe to say that most gamers prefer to see a big budget home console release compared to that. I mean, for another example, let's just take a look at the creator of Final Fantasy, Hironobu Sakaguchi. He made a few console games after he quit Square Enix, all to varying degrees of mediocre success, and then he decided to turn to mobile gaming. Sure, his first game, Terra Battle, did somewhat okay, but then he tried to expand out into a Terra Battle 2 and Terra Wars, and the numbers just kind of speak for themselves. Hajime Tabata by no means is a bad director. He's responsible for some of the most emotional FF games in the history of the franchise, and if I'm being honest, I feel like his talent is kind of going to waste on mobile games regardless of what they are. But speaking of, I guess we should actually talk about the game itself, right? So the game is named the Pegasus Dream Tour, which already, what a name. Apparently it's gonna be about the Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games, which is interesting. Now, I know what most of you are thinking. Well, firstly, if you don't know what the Paralympic Games are, they're basically like these multi-sporting events, just like the Olympics, except that they're held after the Olympics every 4 years, and they're specifically for people that have some kind of disability, which is, I guess, an original idea. You know, you might think hearing from that this game would play kind of like your typical sporting game, or maybe like an Olympic game that you've played before, heck, maybe even like the Mario and the Sonic games, but Tabata specifically has gone out of his way to say that this will indeed be an RPG, which, like, what? Yeah, apparently the reason for this is because the company's mission statement is to, quote, take RPGs to the next level, which doesn't make like any sense. That sounds to me like they just held a meeting and they were trying to find who would be able to come up with the most out there concept that they could possibly come up with, and then they went back and tried to somehow make that an RPG. Because I guess that's what Tabata's known for, RPGs? Well, I don't know about you guys, but I personally cannot wait to play this game when it comes out in 2020 on a 5-inch screen at like 15 frames a second, right after paying all my microtransactions of the day and having to also share it with like 50 Facebook friends just to keep playing. But hey, maybe that's just me. Be sure to let me know how you guys feel about this and about Tabata's choices with the entire company in general in the comments, but I guess either way, that is all that I have for you guys today. I hope that you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to blitz that like button, subscribe, and as always, stay tuned, Kupo.